Hey everybody, VenomnymouS here. So we've been following the Charlie Kirk thing for a while, and I know at this point people are probably getting sick of hearing that guy's name. I am personally, just everyone talking about it. It's like one of those. It's like one of the COVID moments, 9/11. It's one of those moments where we have a big shift and stuff. But anyways, we're gonna cover some things and what to expect to come out of this. More importantly than anything, it's not even that important now to me how it was done because to me clearly the official narrative is laughable. Um, but yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with some of my videos if you've been following along. I got some shorts. We're gonna quickly go over those. So there was the predictive programming, the book, Mysterious Anastasia J. Casey, that had some of it accurate. I don't know. Someone supposedly bought the book and they had shared a couple pages out of it, which had some accuracy, like him getting hit in the neck and where it was the location, like of the where he got shot. But in the book, supposedly, he survives it in the hospital. But anyways, I've looked it up on Amazon. It could be doctored. It says that you can doctor the dates to appear before, but it takes 24 hours or more just to get the book approved on Amazon. So it's fuzzy, that whole thing. So we'll just put that as a whatever. Then there's the crisis actor, the George Zinn character, who's supposedly was involved in 9/11 as he was on the ground and reported it or something like that. And then there was his connection to the Boston Marathon, where he had called in or emailed a bomb threat as a joke to a different marathon. I can't remember the name of it. Shortly, a few days after the Boston Marathon. So there was that. So we have this crisis actor character playing involved in three significant events that have all been, for lack of word, been deemed false flag events. But anyways, so we got the crisis actor factor. I didn't mean to rhyme it. Crisis actor factor. We got predictive programming. We've got this creature here who likes to wear a lot of symbolic pendants and jewelry. She's got Freemason like rings on. She's got a Knights Templar necklace I've shared on Twitter. But yeah, there's a lot of things about this woman. Like her character, she's got this mother role now. She's like the mother of the movement. She's taken over Charlie's position, which is actually more predictive programming, actually concurrent programming if you look at it. Because wait, that's not the one I wanted. Where is it? We're gonna jump ahead here. So Charlie Kirk was in South Korea 11 days ago on September 5th to 6th. He spoke at the Build Up Korea 2025 conference in Seoul. Tempest, which I've covered, I've made a short video showing how there were similarities between that TV show and what happened to Charlie Kirk. So The Tempest, the South Korean series, premiered on September 10th, 2025, the same day of Charlie's shooting, on Disney Plus and Hulu. Featured a plot where two people, one a political figure, were shot in the neck, the same location, and same day as Charlie Kirk. The thing about it was Charlie's last name, Kirk, means church, and Buddy in the TV series was shot in a church. We also have this wife character where she, after he is shot and dies, she takes over his role because he's a young president to be. for Republican movement. She takes up that position. And we see Charlie's wife, supposed wife, Erica Kirk, taking up the role of Charlie. There's that. Oh, there's this more predictive programming with this commercial here. It was PNC Bank.
Listen up, you guys. This is the most important video that you guys are going to see that's already being scrubbed from PNC Bank's own website, okay? Shout out to Scripted Reality 169 for pointing this out. We also shared this on my Eye to Eye weekly episode with Rambo and Cody. Now, what Scripted points out here is that this PNC Bank commercial aired 2 days before the Charlie Kirk shooting. What you'll notice here is Charlie Kirk has called out PNC Bank in years past on Twitter/X. And this is a commercial about a mother and 2 children. You can't see the daughter in the back until I show you the commercial itself. But once again, this commercial has already been scrubbed from PNC Bank's website already. So check this out.
Bring flowers like a normal person. It's your father's favorite casserole.
Who even eats it anyways?
Nothing we need to tell you. Your father's alive. What? We figured out how to pay for school. Dad faked his death so his art would skyrocket in value.
He's been down there for a month.
Had to lay low while I sold all the paintings. Hi, babe. I told the kids. Say hi.
Hi, Dad.
We're so happy you're alive. Or we could look at a few different savings options.
I've been dying to see some options. So right.
Now, for those of you that think this is just another clickbait theory and another conspiracy theory, alongside all of the rest about his shirts, about his microphone, about who actually shot him, have a look at the gematria values of Steve Caldera, the father who faked his death, and Charles Kirk. Once again, this commercial from PNC Bank came out 2 days before the event that happened back on September 10th. Now, gematria is the Kabbalistic practice of coding letters into numbers, adding values to letters, hence gematria, which means geometry within language. Sure enough, Steve Caldera and Charles Kirk, perfect overlap in 2 of the 4 base ciphers of English gematria. That in itself stamps it right there, and there's a reason why PNC Bank has already removed this commercial from their website.
So there. And if you think about Charlie, since he's died, he's been risen to this martyr status and even Superman status. Apparently, PR doctor breaks down 2 things that happened to Charlie Kirk's body the minute he was shot. So, talks about Charlie getting shot here. Scroll down. Charlie was shot in an anterior triangular of the neck, right where the carotid artery splits into branches. They explained the moment he was hit, bright red pulsating blood gushed out. The ER doctor continued. Each pulse was literally his heart pumping straight through the wound. He would have lost liters in just minutes. Though there's a severe lack of blood in that whole scene and on Charlie, so yeah, interesting. But we won't go there right now. Secondly, they know that how his body language illustrated enormous internal damage had been caused. The instant he shot, his posture collapsed. No, it doesn't. It doesn't collapse at all. His arms and wrists flex unnaturally. Flaccid paralysis. Okay. He does the most retarded pose I've ever seen when he gets shot. Naturally, in my opinion, you typically reach up to your wound and put your hand over it. But he does this, like, I swear it's some kind of pose for something. It's like, it's something I have to look into. It's a very interesting pose. And if he did, he closed his eye, first of all, before the shot happens. Like, he was preparing himself for something to happen. He had closed his eyes. And then when he got the shot, he holds his arm out and tilts himself to the side, just kind of, helping allow the fluid to go out to that side. Just making it a bit easier, adding some gravity to the situation. And he doesn't fall down. His team tackles him down immediately. Let's continue. That spinal shock, his cervical spine likely severed. The nerves controlling movement and breathing are cut. meaning he would have immediately lost the ability to move and to breathe, they described. Wouldn't he go limp? It doesn't make any sense to me. One commenter replied, when he continued to hold the microphone while clearly immediately going unconscious, I thought it definitely had to be some spinal cord damage, and most likely immediately unconsciousness, followed by death within like a minute, half a minute. The medic replied, so likely he was dead before he got to the car. By dead, I mean the cause of death was hypovolemia, loss of circulating volume, leading to cardiac arrest. It's a reversible cause, within reason, so I'm sure they tried to give him blood products / fluids. Tamponade. They gave him tampons. Tamponade the bleed. Assess his heart rhythm to see if it responded, and all that failed. Then they called it. Interesting. So, like, he would have been dead in half a minute. That would have been before he even got to the SUV, to the hospital, and then to the hospital, supposedly. Yeah, okay. Replying to a query from a commenter asking why it took so long for the news of his death to break. Well, the news didn't break his death. Trump broke his death. Broke the news on his death, that is. Isn't that kind of weird? The president is the one declaring him dead? But I digress. So anyways, that silliness happened there.
I've been telling everybody, wait till we have evidence of an inside job or a cover-up. That's all I've been saying. We know Andy was out killing people, Tranifa, all that's a real deal. But now, I can't believe this. The spokesperson for TPUSA just posted 2 hours ago that they talked to the coroner and that Charlie Kirk was shot with a 30-06 in the left side of his neck, the carotid artery, and that he's a man of steel, and that the bones in his neck that are like chicken bones stopped a bullet that travels 2,500 feet a second out of the barrel at 200 yards, depending on the grain of the cartridge and the rest of it. Probably hit him at 1,900 feet per second. I've shot hogs at 500 yards, 30-06, right to the side. Tiny hole, blows a 4-inch hole out to the side. We're talking through 2 feet of a hog. Boom. Hit him in the head, brain completely blows out. They just said he got shot with a 30-06 and that it didn't go through, and it gets better. I'll post this on top of his tweet. That they didn't find a bullet. He says he talked to the coroner. This is a spokesperson for TPUSA. So I don't jump on things till I have evidence. And then I talked to the White House 2 days ago, high-level sources. They said, no, the cover-up's on all the accomplices, the tranny for people, 6 of them that were online the day before said he'll be dead tomorrow. They're not investigating it. They've been told lone gunman shut it down. So I'm not eating crow here. I never said it could have not been a false flag or a setup. I just simply said, when I see evidence, I'll cover it. And I certainly couldn't, before his body was cold, say Israel did it with no evidence. Israel was definitely pissed off at him and does stuff like that. So maybe Israel did it. But I will not sit there until I have evidence. But now we have, this is retarded, people. I mean, I shot a buffalo with a 308. That's weaker than a 30-06, but somewhere around. The bullet went through a bull buffalo. More reports coming on this, folks. We're being lied to. This is a cover-up. All right, I'm just going to report the facts to you. I just talked to Andrew Colvett, who is the official spokesman for TPUSA, who I've met before, who's a great guy, and a big confidant of Charlie Kirk. And I put my report out about him talking to the surgeon that was there when Charlie was brought dead to the hospital.
Wait, so Why need a surgeon if Charlie was brought dead to the hospital?
And Charlie was being shot from on top. I'm just repeating what he told me, into the throat. And he's saying now that no, it didn't go through, which actually makes sense. Now that I think about it, it was coming down, and then went. He asked me not to be too graphic, but it went down his spine, exploded in his heart. Fragments went in there, which makes sense. That's what happens, and that the bullet fragments bounced back up, and they found that. So this is ballistics. I hadn't thought of that. I'm not a ballistics expert, but after all of this, that makes a lot more sense because I have shot wild hogs and deer and you name it, sent them straight on, and the bullet goes in right in the chest and then comes out the side or comes out the ass or comes out wherever. And he's like, just don't be graphic. Well, and I told him, I said, how am I supposed to be graphic? Now understand, he's being shot from above. It goes in and it goes down the spine, and then fragments bounce back up.
Yeah. Down and up. Sure. So yeah, he just keeps going on saying the same stupid shit over again. All right, so this is the official spokesperson for Turning Point USA. I want to address some of the discussion about the lack of an exit wound with Charlie. I'm usually not interested in delving into most of this kind of online chatter, and I apologize, this is somewhat graphic. But in this case, the fact that there wasn't an exit wound is probably another miracle. Another miracle. And I want people to know, I just spoke with the surgeon who worked on Charlie in the hospital. He said the bullet absolutely should have gone through. Just absolutely should have gone through, which is very normal for a high-powered, high-velocity round. I've seen wounds from this caliber many times, and they always go through every time. Go through everything. This would have taken a moose or two down, an elk, etc. But it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. So Charlie's body is stronger than two moose, for the record. I mentioned this to his doctor, that there were dozens of staff, students, and special guests standing directly behind Charlie on the other side of the tent. And he replied, it was an absolute miracle that someone else didn't get killed. His bone was so healthy, and the density was so impressive that he's like the man of steel. It should have gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too. In the end, the coroner did find the bullet just beneath the skin. Even in death, Charlie managed to save the lives of those around him. Remarkable. Miraculous. And other people are like, this post is so fake, it would violate HIPAA. And Andrew Colvett, rest assured, I wouldn't have posted it without full permission. Why are you signing Charlie's bones a mythical explanation? Exactly. Why is a doctor sharing confidential medical information? Okay, HIPAA. I had permission to share from all. Might have been good to add that part in the post, right? Anyways, this is very interesting. They're giving this Charlie, like, I don't know, some kind of, he's supernatural now? Supernatural Charlie? I just complain to what I'm going to be talking about in a bit. So maybe we should get on to the next part. Or maybe we should touch on some of the other things before we go to that. It's back here again. My videos. Let's see, the blood squib. Now, there's a good video by Russian Vids. I don't know if he's even on YouTube or not. I saw it on Rumble, where he was covering the blood aspect of Charlie's shooting, and the lack of it on his body is really very, very apparent when they're dragging him out to SUV.
don't want to jinx it, we don't want to say anything wrong, but what we don't want to have happen is that awful moment, and I wish I could say it's never happened, where you're on set and you start pumping blood and you look at the actor and nothing's coming out of his neck, but there's a giant red pile going on the back of his body. While I'm doing the purging the line, is making sure that the blood is traveling down the line and that there's pressure on the thing. So I don't know if you can see here. So this is the bit where I'm going to cut the apparatus.
So you see how those tubes match. The guy's a special effects buddy. Tiny little tube, just like the one that guy pulls. Now there's another, where is it?
These
What? Oh, that's right. YouTube took it down. It was a video of the chair going through the table. One buddy in that scene lifts up a chair. Let's see. Move the chair. I can't really see in this video very well, but he moves the chair. And the chair falls. It goes on top of the table and then falls through the table. Now we're thinking that there's some AI generated overlay in that video to cover up possibly the squib equipment or something to do with it. There's also the whole trapdoor thing where that could easily been used as part of it to conceal any kind of equipment that was required to pull this off. But we're just going off what we can see and, trying to put them together. So this is all just theories, folks. And then we got the whole...
These connections keep getting weirder and weirder. So right at the end of this press conference where Kash Patel announces that they caught Charlie Kirk's killer, Tyler Robinson, Kash Patel ends it with Charlie Kirk, "I'll see you in Valhalla."
Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Now, what's interesting is that one of the pictures that they put out of Tyler Robinson shows Tyler Robinson in his bedroom next to his computer. On the computer is a picture of an island. That island is called Goat Island, and it's located in New Zealand. That has a retreat called Valhalla. Isn't that weird? That's just weird.
Anyways, just more layers. That's all it is. We're just layers constantly being added to this situation to deliberately confuse people. And because they're laughing at us. They know what they want you to know it's fake. They also, everyone has their biases. So there's going to be the group that thinks it's 100% as it says real, and it's the lefties. The lefties killed Charlie. They like to always frame it as they, multiple, not just a leftist killed Charlie. You know who supposedly killed Charlie was the son of an agent, a police officer, agent, whatever his designation was. And didn't a bunch of money go to him? That people were trying to build up funds for, what was it? The defense of the defendant, or anyways, I believe money went to that guy, the police officer who turned in his son, supposedly. Yeah, another agent son was involved in a psyop. I haven't seen that before. But I digress. I also had the strange supposed fake police officer dude here. Then we had Candace Owens coming out.
There's nothing gory about this footage from the back.
She had access
thing that
to the
really stood out to me, and I just kept asking him to replay it over and over and over again, is that there's no blood.
Wait.
There's nothing gory about this footage from the back. The thing that really stood out to me, and I just kept asking him to replay it over and over and over again, is that there's no blood. There's no blood from the back. There is no blood. So I think a lot of people were wondering whether or not that bullet pierced and went out to the back. I think I vaguely even remember, and Skylar, you can maybe live look this up, but like I thought the feds were saying they were looking for a bullet at some point, which is now very alarming to me. I don't understand that. How could they have been looking for a bullet? Because if I'm not seeing, and there isn't, I'm telling you, what happens in the front is not what happens in the back at all. If I'm not seeing any blood, what are we to take from that? The only thing that could make sense, if what they're saying is true and that person took the shot from the place that they are saying that individual took the shot from, it would suggest that it was inside of Charlie, right? And they would know that. The feds would have known that. So they would have communicated that they were never looking for a bullet. Because remember, one shot. So I'm very confused. I'm very confused, not by what I saw, but what I didn't see. Okay.
So there you have it. It's kind of interesting to have these characters coming out with like questions like that. Like I showed you Alex Jones earlier. The Candace Owens thing was before that, but she had found out the buddy who took the SD card out of the camera that had the footage from the back. And supposedly, Turning Point USA claims that Candace Owens has nothing to do with Turning Point USA for years now, but she went on a tour with Turning Point USA last year. So none of this is making sense, but we have these characters also now questioning the whole thing as being fake, which just makes it even more suspicious, you know? Like I said, adding layers. Will they come out eventually just proposing that this whole thing is fake? Will that eventually become the story? I'm doubtful, but is it a possibility? Now, there's like I was talking earlier about the different groups. There's the group that thinks it's real and blames Israel. That's a dangerous thing to play because what I'm going to talk about later on, I think that's a big part of what this was about. Besides getting everyone to fight with each other. Right, so this next part leads me to believe where this is heading, like what was one of the objectives of this whole shooting. Now, I do not endorse this person whatsoever. Just showing you a clip that brings up interesting topics, that's all.
On September 24th of this year, so 1 week from today, do not believe anything that you see or hear. And I'm not talking about your day-to-day grocery store run, chit chat with colleagues. I'm talking about anything startling, shocking, extraordinary, anything that you might consider remarkable, memorable. Why do I say this? Because one of my sources sent me an encrypted message tonight. And usually I get like a paragraph at least, kind of explaining what they're talking about and details of some sort. This was just one sentence, and in all caps it said, "Do not believe anything that you see or hear on 9/24." Now, this isn't one of my military buds that is sometimes wrong or gets delayed information or facts are skewed. This is someone I trust implicitly, has never been wrong. They have no reason to BS me. They don't BS. That's not who they are. They are very, one of those. I've known them most of my life. You don't have to take me seriously. I'm going to take it seriously. Now, what I find interesting, and I don't know if this has any connection to it, is the 24th is also the same day that Israel is going to internationally broadcast their trumpet ceremony. They're going to have 100 rabbis blowing 100 horns to celebrate, all the red heifers that they've burned. And apparently they're going to have all of the ashes leading back all the way to Esther. Which reminds me of something. Project Esther. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to my profile. I have a whole video. Actually, I have two. And they say Project Esther, where I explain what it is and what it's all about. Basically, you better fall into alignment, not be anti-Semitic. And, you know, if you are, you're going to lose certain privileges, like access to the market, access to, you know, society, etc. I go all through it. Okay. But isn't it interesting how Project Esther is about anti-Semitism? And they're going to have the ashes from Esther on the 24th. And that also happens to be the day that I was just told, don't believe anything I see or hear. I mean, they didn't follow through, but I'm putting 2 and 2 together here. So I hope you can do the math here with me, because obviously here, there's only so much I can say. Do the math, babe.
Like I said, I don't endorse or trust any people like this, especially people that have people on the inside. It's like, yeah, but why? How are your connections with these military people or whatever? Why would I trust you? But you can glean some information from that. Now, September 23rd has always been the go-to for like, oh, bad shit's about to end, you know, the end of the world type of thing. I believe I shared one of those last year, because everything points to September 23rd, September 23rd. Well, that's because it falls in between a very significant event in Israel. But before we get to that, let's take a look at Project Esther. Project Esther is a project of the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank based in Washington, D.C. that aims to suppress pro-Palestinian protests and what it classifies as anti-Semitism. The effort has received support from several evangelical Christian organizations, but no major Jewish ones. According to the New York Times, Slate, Haaretz, The Forward, and Jewish Insider, Project Esther does not address right-wing anti-Semitism. It has also been criticized for incorporating anti-Semitic tropes into its rhetoric. Project Esther broadly labels criticism of Israel as terrorism and calls for targeting universities, students, and American progressive politics and politicians. Politico described Project Esther as a lesser-known blueprint from the same creators of Project 2025. In May 2025, the New York Times found that the second Trump administration had called for or acted upon more than half of Project Esther's proposals. Head over to your New York Times. So, the conservative Washington-based think tank is known for spearheading Project 2025, a proposed blueprint for President Trump's second term that called for reshaping the federal government and extreme expansion of presidential power. Now, the Heritage contingent was in Israel, in part to discuss another contentious policy paper, Project Esther, the foundation's proposal to rapidly dismantle the pro-Palestinian movement in the United States, along with its support at schools and universities and progressive organizations in Congress. In Congress, drafted in the wake of Hamas's attack on Israel in 2023 and the mounting protests against the war in Gaza, Project Esther outlined an ambitious plan to fight anti-Semitism by branding a broad range of critics of Israel as effectively a terrorist support network, so that they could be deported, defunded, sued, fired, expelled, ostracized, and otherwise excluded from what is considered open society. Project Esther's architects envisioned outcomes that at the time might have seemed far-fetched. Curriculum it believed to be sympathetic to a Hamas support narrative would be taken out of schools and universities, and supporting faculty would be removed. Social media would be purged of content deemed to be anti-Semitic. Institutions would lose public funding. Foreign students who pushed for Palestinian rights would have their visas revoked or deported. Once a sympathetic presidential administration was in place, Trump, who converted to Judaism in 2017. The plan said, we will organize rapidly, take immediate action to stop the bleeding, and achieve all objectives within 2 years. Now, 4 months after Mr. Trump took office, Heritage Foundation leaders are taking an early victory lap. Since the inauguration, the White House and other Republicans have called for actions and appear to mirror more than half of Project Esther's proposals, a New York Times analysis shows, including threats to withhold billions in federal funding at universities and attempts to deport legal residents. Interviews with the Heritage Foundation first public comments since Mr. Trump took office about his blueprint for shaping U.S. public opinion on Israel. Project Esther's architects said there were clear parallels between their plan and recent actions against universities and pro-Palestinian demonstrators on both the state and federal level. The phase we're in now is starting to execute some of the lines of the effort in terms of legislative, legal, and financial penalties for what we consider to be material support for terrorism, said Victoria Cotes, a former deputy national security advisor to Mr. Trump, and the vice president at Heritage, who oversees Project Esther. Heritage officials said they did not know whether the White House, which has its own anti-Semitism task force and used Project Esther as a guide, administration officials declined to discuss it. But Robert Greenway, a Heritage National Security Director who co-authored Project Esther, said it was no coincidence that we called for a series of actions to take place privately and publicly and are now happening. So yeah, there's that demon right there. But yeah, so I could read more, but you could just check it out yourself. It's getting crazy. So like I even called this out even before I even knew about that. When this first happened, I thought it was just a distraction from the bigger picture. However, after seeing how they are painting Charlie as a martyr, stoking the flames of civil war, and on the conspiracy side, they're breadcrumbing. Sorry, it says breadcrumbing. They're breadcrumbing the truth community by deliberately making this look like an Israel hit. This is a trap and will be used to attack free speech, with anti-Semitic hate speech laws getting the push. I think that's why the neck symbolism as of late, Charlie, the Ukraine girl, the latest COVID variant symptoms being razor blade throat, it all points to a hoax with the purpose of attacking free speech and any of those who criticize Israel specifically. And we know they want to bring the no-hide laws in eventually so they can take out any dissenters. So that's why they got to divide us up into different groups, see where people stand, and they can isolate and take out each group one by one as they see fit. I mean, this is what I believe they did with 9/11. I think a big part of 9/11 was seeing who the dissenters were, who the free thinkers were. Same thing with the Kennedy shooting, and that's why they relate both those events to the Charlie thing, because it's all just a weeding out method that they use. It's the same old one that they do. Weed out the dissenters. You can draw it out of normal people, because people that didn't wake up for 9/11 immediately, or didn't wake up for the COVID thing, or any kind of big event, they didn't wake up immediately then. They could still wake up in the future. Something just has to hit them right. So they use these events to weed them out. Find out who the dissenters are. That's why that monster, the mayor of is it the mayor of New York? Hogel? Whatever it was. They started some school programming to early on help children to detect conspiracy theories or whatever. Something like that. Trying to squash any dissent in the future through the youth at a very early age. Oh yeah, and there's the debunking pre-bunking. What's her face? Ursula Kursula. she's part of a thing to tackle conspiracy theories with pre-bunking. I don't know anyone want to pre-bunk with her, but I digress. Let's move on. Let's take a look at Fuentes, because he's been coming up a lot with this whole thing. Here's Fuentes in May 30th, 2025, talking about Project Esther.
The next time somebody says, oh, the Jews have this conspiracy, they have this plan, what are you talking about? What do you mean? What, they all get together and they want to implement this plan? The next time somebody asks you that or they're skeptical, look up Project Esther from the Heritage Foundation. Their plan to brand any critic of Israel, anybody that criticizes Israel, they're going to call a terrorist supporter, so they could be excluded from open society by being fired, sued, deported, defunded, expelled, ostracized. And the Trump administration is implementing that plan. So when they say, what's the conspiracy? What's the plan? It has a name. It's called Project Esther. It was written by the Heritage Foundation. It is being implemented by the authors who wrote it, who now work in the State Department of this government. So you want to say who, what, when, how? This is it. Okay? Miriam Adelson gave Trump $100 million. AIPAC put $100 million against any incumbent congressman who voted against aid to Israel. Other Jewish donors gave hundreds of millions to Trump in his re-election campaign. And now they're implementing their plan. Anyone that's against the Jews is a terrorist, and we're going to destroy them. What else do you call that other than cancel culture? We're going to exclude them from society. We're going to cancel them. Remember 3 years ago when Ye said, who invented cancel culture? The Jews. And then he was canceled for saying that by the Jews. Who? Jonathan Greenblatt of the Anti-Defamation League, which is dedicated to fighting anti-Semitism, who called up Adidas and got his multi-billion-dollar Adidas Yeezy brand terminated. And Ari Emanuel, who now owns the UFC, who now owns one of the major talent agencies, who fired Ye from his talent agency and got everybody else in the music industry in Hollywood to stop working with him. Like, this is what's been going on for a very long time. These are just facts. Inconvenient they may be. The implications may be terrifying. These are the facts. Deal with them. This is Project Esther. This is Jewish cancel culture. This is the Jewish conspiracy. This is what has been going on. Now it's just in writing. This is from the New York Times. This isn't coming from the Daily Stormer and Iron March. This is coming from the New York Times, the paper of record of the United States of America. And they're quoting it from their own documents. Project Esther has a webpage on Heritage Foundation. Look it up. The authors are working in the State Department. We're not making this up. We're quoting them.
That was Nick before the Charlie shooting. And here's Nick now. Notice the can he's holding. Now, can made by an Israel company, the 666 on it. And watch how many times Nick flashes the 6, the 666.
Like, if you disagree with me, fine. If you think Israel killed Charlie Kirk and then vanished beneath a trap door and flew to Tuba City on a private jet, fine. If you believe that, fine. But then people start to say, you disagree with me? You got the memo. So you're telling me it's just like a competition? Every event that happens in America or the world is the doing of Israel. And if you disagree on any one of them, you got the call. Yeah, if you're out, then good riddance. You can go and, join the rest of the nutcases.
Bald girl, I percent $25. I'm fighting for my life against my conspiracy friends this week for defending the mainstream narrative and you. I do not fret. I predict they will be needing apology forms by the end of the year.
They will. And that's why I say, fuck them. You know, you disagree with me, fine. If you're out there saying he got the memo, fuck you. I can't wait for the apology forms. Can't wait. Cannot wait. I cannot wait to humiliate you more, because more than anything, what I loved is humiliate people who are wrong. I live for it, actually. So please, I can't wait for it. I'm taking notice of everybody that's saying that. I cannot wait to never speak to those people again.
Shift. Gee, I wonder if someone's trying to protect themselves. Maybe they did get a call, you know. So, Charlie Kirk's funeral will be held. Well, it's actually a memorial. Charlie Kirk's memorial will be held tomorrow because they couldn't wait, you know. They had to rush him into the ground as fast as possible, right? The funeral 2 days after he was shot or whatever. But I digress. So, his memorial will be held tomorrow. It's now today, the 21st. In Glendale, Arizona, it will be held under a partial solar eclipse. So there's a partial solar eclipse today. Symbolically closing the ritual loop. Glendale is directly next to Phoenix, the city of the mythical resurrection bird, sitting precisely on the 33rd parallel north. So September 7th was the blood moon. September 10th, exact midpoint on eclipse season, Charlie gets shot. September 11th, buildings, you know, that whole ritual. September 21st, partial solar eclipse. There's the 33rd parallel line. Memorial service for Charlie Kirk scheduled Sunday, 21st, blah, blah, blah. Arizona is very close to 33rd parallel, located approximately 33.5387 north, include the 33rd parallel in a line of latitude 33 degrees north of the equator, and Glendale's coordinates placed just slightly north of the line. Trump International Scotland, hidden, blah, blah, blah. There's your Phoenix. Their neck equals 33, which he got shot in the neck. I told that girl got stabbed in the neck. Then you had the throat variant. And then you got his hats displayed, all equaling 33 when you have them together. 4 and 7 is 11. 7, 11. But yeah. So, this buddy says, actually parallel 33 runs through Glendale. I lived in Tempe, 3325. I'm good by 8 minutes. So Google Earthed it. Triple 33 passes quite close to the stadium. So yeah, there's a lot of symbolism there. It's not only a partial solar eclipse. Today is, where is it? New moon, September 21st, which I was talking to my co-pilot here. When we're talking about, what is it? Rosh Hashanah, or Feast of Trumpets 2025. Oh, hold on. So I was talking to my version of ChatGPT Copilot, which is connected with the stupid Microsoft programming. Pretty useful though. So Feast of Trumpets, right? Reason for there's variations on when people celebrate it. So some celebrate based on the conjunction of the new moon and traditional Hebrew reckoning. Then you got people who commonly accepted Jewish calendar date for Tishri. One is September 22nd to the 23rd, and then September 24th, global shofar broadcast planned in Israel, seen as symbolic fulfillment. So Israel's planned a historic broadcast of 100 shofar blasts, which some interpret as a prophetic or symbolic extension of the feast. And yeah, it's apparently this is the first time they're ever going to broadcast it and have this many in a coordinated fashion, which I don't know, something really strikes me as this being particularly odd. Could goes along kind of with what that woman was saying about whatever you see in the 24th, don't believe it. Sorry, I got an alarm going off. Whatever goes on in the 24th, don't believe it. Now this could very well play into some kind of Project Bluebeam kind of thing. Anyways, yeah, that's the horn they blow. But this is an interesting video. So we're gonna watch this for a little bit. I gotta hold on. We won't watch this whole video because it's about 19 minutes long. But it's pretty interesting, so just check this out.
Something huge is going to be happening in Israel on 24th. Now, for the very first time, the government of Israel has announced that they're going to be live streaming 100 blasts of trumpet, where Jews all over Israel are going to be blowing this massive trumpet, which basically resembles the trumpet of the heaven. Now, Israel government has officially announced that they're going to be live streaming this event throughout the entire world, while they're going to be blasting off 100 trumpets all over Israel, all over Jerusalem. And this trumpet is supposed to be a symbolic representation of the Jews basically calling out to their Messiah for repentance. Now, what's interesting about this whole fact is that this has never in history ever happened before, where Israel has decided to live stream this event all over the world so that entire world could watch. And this led to a lot of people to believe that some very weird things are currently happening in the month of September. As we've already seen just a couple days ago, there was a blood moon and lunar eclipse. Both of these things combined together, where 80% of the world was able to witness the blood moon event that just happened. And trust me, this was one of the most astonishing events. And if you missed it, this right here is one of the footage that I managed to record when the moon was completely red in color. Now, unfortunately, the camera doesn't do enough justice. Because looking at the blood moon with naked eye and then comparing the iPhone footage, I would definitely say that it doesn't do any justice at all. And what's actually interesting is that on September 21st, astronomers have already announced that there will be a full-scale solar eclipse, which will be causing a complete blackout for almost 80% of Earth, which means that 80% of the population of humans are going to be able to witness this very first solar eclipse, which is going to be completely turning day into darkness. And interestingly, it seems like both of these events were supposedly prophesied in the Bible already as the signs which will take place all together at the same time as we see the blood moon, the lunar eclipse, as well as the solar eclipse, which is going to turn the day into darkness. All of these are supposed to be the signs, which states that when all of these things happens all at once, then this basically means that we are getting very close to the day that most of the Christians like to name this event as rapture, although the name rapture itself is not present in the Bible. But still, the actual meaning of rapture is that Jesus will appear in the sky and he's basically going to be rescuing his church. So that's the basic ideology of what the word rapture basically stands for, although it's not in the Bible. But still, many Christians do believe that the symbolic representation of what rapture stands for is exactly what's written in the Bible, as basically Christ taking over his church and keeping us safe. Now, what's actually interesting about what's really going to happen on September 24th in Israel could possibly also be related to the recent red heifer sacrifice that was done in Jerusalem.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store.
As we know, the Jews believe that their Messiah hasn't yet arrived, and they've already been raising these red heifers in order to sacrifice them and use the ashes of these dead red heifers in order to cleanse the tools with these ashes, by which these tools are going to be the only tools that they're going to be using in order to build the third Solomon temple. Now, recently, if you have been following up on the channel, then you would probably know that the Jews have already sacrificed one red heifer, for which they called it as a practice session. Although many people around the world, they don't really believe that it was some sort of a practice session. Some say that it was the actual main event, and the Jews already collected the ashes of the red heifers, and they're just trying to cover it up, saying that it was just a practice session. Because obviously, if you don't know the history about the red heifers and the sacrifice, it basically leads all the way back to the prophecies itself. In the prophecy, it already says that the Jews are going to be building the third Solomon temple before the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ. In order to build the third Solomon temple, there is, however, a massive price to pay, because in the same location where the third Solomon temple is supposed to be built, there's also a mosque called the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which the Muslims believe that it is the mosque of their prophet Muhammad. So this mosque is supposed to be like the highest key figure of their whole religious belief. So in order to build the third Solomon temple, the Jews will have to break down this mosque and completely demolish it, and then build the third Solomon temple in the same location where the mosque was located. And that's, of course, going to cause a lot of problems for the Jews, the Israels, and the Muslim nations. You know, nobody's going to allow this to happen. So that's probably one of the reasons why many people believe that Israel might have already sacrificed the red heifer, and they probably just told that it was just a practice session. Because if they did claim that it was a real sacrifice, then that's going to cause a lot of havoc around the world, because the Muslims are definitely going to be alerted that the Jews are up to something that's going to be destroying their mosque. Now, this could be one of the reasons as to why the Jews just mentioned that it was just a practice session, whereas they fully and thoroughly performed the entire procedure of what the red heifer sacrifice would go like. And this time, they only sacrificed one red heifer. I think you guys should take a look at this video from Talon Michael, who explains this in a very simple form about what Israel actually found along with the Dead Sea Scroll. So here we go.
Prophecies that is said to happen before Jesus returns again is happening right in front of our eyes. Did you know that they found the Dead Sea Scrolls just a couple of years ago? But they didn't only find the scrolls. They actually found the ashes from every red heifer from the time of Moses all the way up until modern day. The ashes of the 9 other sacrifices.
So you see this right here, these are supposed to be like the ashes of all the red heifers that were sacrificed by Israel. Like this was the time during Jesus and before the time of Jesus when, you know, the Israelites were just waiting for the Messiah to show up. They were trying to build the third Solomon temple and all this stuff, you know. The prophecies were going on for thousands of years, and they already found all of these red heifers' ashes. Now, these are supposed to be like the ashes, the pure red heifer, which makes a lot of people think that Israel already has these ashes, which means that they were just missing one more ash that they really required for the whole ceremony, because they needed 10 red heifers' ashes. They already found 9 of the ashes inside of these containers. So the only thing that was left out and what's remaining is the ashes of one single red heifer, which probably a lot of people are believing that this could be that Israel just sacrificed one of the last red heifers that they really required. And they're basically going to be using the previous red heifers ashes that were left behind by ancient Israelites. So let's just go ahead and continue this video here.
Found in a vessel. Right now, the 10th red heifer is currently in Israel getting ready to be sacrificed. They just went through a rehearsal ceremony 2 days ago, and they are ready to put the red heifer on the altar. This could be the very prophecy that ushers in the return of Jesus again. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
So as you've seen that right there, and we also have another update which is coming on that you guys should take a look at, because this is right here what I'm talking about.
Anyways, you get the point. It's very interesting, though, that they could have already completed their ceremony in secret by telling everyone it was a test run. And with this whole, because it's a Jewish New Year, right? So this whole, with the moon and the partial solar eclipse, could they be pulling off a Project Bluebeam? Because on the 24th, like that woman said, with her insider information, don't believe anything that happens. Now I'm wondering if this ties in the whole Charlie Kirk thing, you know, the Man of Steel, Mr. Martyr. Will this, whatever this event entails, would it be one of the magical performance of the Antichrist or whatever, their Messiah, the false Messiah or whatever comes out of this Project Bluebeam kind of thing? Will one of his tricks be to resurrect Charlie Kirk? Although we all know he's not actually dead, so it wouldn't be that hard to pull off, right? It's just some wild thoughts I get sometimes. That's all. Let's move on to the next part. Spoken of throughout the scriptures, starting with Genesis 3:15 and continuing through the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. The picture gets clearer as we read God's word, and yet many have usurped the title or been declared messiahs by others. None of them has even come close to having the credentials. Yahshua has, because he is the only Messiah who checks all the boxes. The ultimate false Messiah is known as the Antichrist, and he will play a key role in the end times. Before we look at what the Bible says about the individual, we should also look at a couple of others who have been disqualified over the centuries. Maybe we won't do that. But anyways, besides that, the Antichrist character. Now, I posted this video 2 years ago. Christine Morgan, head of the esoteric Lucis Trust, or Lucifer Trust, and the externalization of the hierarchy. Now, this is an important one, so hold on a second here. Check this one out.
And through the medium of light supernal, the Christ is preparing himself to reappear as part of the immediate work of implementing the plan on earth. And in the reappearance of the Christ, we read that the avatar of synthesis is currently overshadowing the Christ as he prepares to reappear.
It was written in 1957, and it's Lucis Trust, which originally was Lucifer Publishing Company. But the name was too much in the face, so they changed it to Lucis Trust. Same thing. She writes, "Thus a great and new movement is proceeding, and a tremendously increased interplay and interaction is taking place." Interaction with whom?
Yes.
This will go on until, that's stunning, AD 2025. During the years intervening between now and then, very great changes will be seen taking place. When was this written? 1957. This is interesting. Very great changes will be seen taking place. And at the great general assembly of the hierarchy. What you talking about here?
A meeting of the demonic forces.
A meeting of the demonic forces, held as usual every century. In 2025, the date in all probability will be set for the first stage of the externalization of the hierarchy. What does that mean? Where they will present themselves to humanity so that you can see them face to face. Does that sound like Satan masquerading as an angel of light, saying, "I am the Christ, I have come back"?
Yes, I've changed the laws.
Didn't we deal with that in the spirit of prophecy? That he will say, "I have changed the laws." So must there have been an attempt to keep Sunday by that stage?
Yes.
Is he reinforcing it?
Yes.
Were there calamities that led people to believe these things? We're just putting it into a biblical scenario. Which countries would be hardest hit? Those that had
the light Protestant countries
and rejected it. National apostasy will be followed by
national ruin.
Interesting. 2025. The date in all probability will be set for the first stage of the externalization of the hierarchy. The present cycle from now until that date. Is she making that date prominent?
Yes.
What was the date in Deagle?
2025.
What was the date in that movie clip?
2025.
Who runs Hollywood?
Jesuits.
Jesuit theater. Fascinating. The present cycle from now until that date is called technically the stage of the forerunner. Forerunner to whom?
Satan.
Satan. It is preparatory in nature, testing in its methods. Are we being tested right now as to how far we can be pushed?
Yes, how far they can put the control on us.
And intended to be revelatory in its techniques and results.
And in June 1945, Christ set in motion the forces of reconstruction, which are related to the will aspect of divinity. These forces of reconstruction are effective mainly in relation to those entities which we call nations. And the hierarchy at this time is attempting to channel them into the assembly of the United Nations. United Nations.
United Nations. 2025 hierarchy will manifest itself. Now this is interesting. Now Alice A. Bailey is basically the prophetess for the United Nations.
Yes.
And the use made of these impersonal energies, he said, is dependent upon the quality and the nature of the recipient nation, on its measure of true enlightenment, and on its point in evolution, so as eventually to restore stability to the planet and give the incoming Aquarian influences a stable and extended field in which to work. The seventh ray works powerfully through Uranus, and visualizing this planet's influence, we can help to consolidate the new world order on the physical plane. We can help
to consolidate the new world order on the physical plane.
So as we look around the world and see crystallized forms, established order breaking up before our eyes, let's fix our attention on those ideas around which new structures can be erected. World organization is born on the mental plane, and all world serving groups can play an important part in energizing constructive principles for manifestation on the physical plane. And through this magical reformation, the etheric patterns of relationship between people, nations, and kingdoms of nature will eventually achieve a spiritual organization as perfect as the internal geometry of a diamond.
I think we'll just end on that. Stuff to think about. Where's it all going to go? More videos to come. Thank you for your time and attention. Catch you next time.
Are you talking to me? No way, Paul!